Direct sunlight can be super unflattering. It shows every pore and casts really ugly shadows. And Tony, you have a solution for that.
For 20 bucks, you can get a kit that includes diffusers and reflectors, and we're going to show you how to use all of them. Up first, the diffuser, which casts a very flattering shadow. Basically, you want to hold it between your subject and the sun. Now, it becomes a light source itself, taking the light from the sun and spreading it out across the entire width of this, so it becomes a very big, flattering light. And you have to communicate constantly with the photographer to let the assistant holding the diffuser know it's not in the frame. Moving closer or farther changes the quality of the light, but the diffuser is pretty easy to use. Usually you just want to keep the subject right in the shade. So that's with the diffuser and that's without the diffuser.
What else?
Flip this around and you have yourself a black reflector, which is not at all a reflector. Some people call it a scrim or a gobo, but basically it just absorbs all light and casts shade a little more perfectly. Whereas the diffuser bounces light across that light source and does create some catch light and fill light. This creates just shade. So it's portable shade. And as you can see, as I hold it in front of Chelsea, the shade is much, much deeper, causing the background to be relatively much brighter. And you can see she doesn't completely disappear even though she's in shade. Instead, she's illuminated only by the ambient light, light bouncing off the atmosphere or light bouncing off the grass and the ground. And as you can see on her face, she actually gets a green color cast.
That can't be flattering.
Nope, that green's there the whole time, but it's overwhelmed by the sunlight normally. Another use for this is to actually use it to block reflections from grass, creating an ugly color cast.
Now let's talk about reflectors. Instead of going between your subject and the light source, you use your reflector to capture the light and then bounce it back onto your subject. The white side will cast a softer light and not bounce back as much light, but it shows less imperfections and is a bit more flattering.
The closer you get with the reflector, the more light you're going to be sending in. The subject should have the light reflected right onto their face, and in fact, it might even get to be a little bit blinding. That just means you're doing it right. If they can see the light, then it's hitting their face properly.
In this situation, the white side actually isn't enough, so I would switch to the silver side, which would give you more light, but it's harder, so it's a bit less flattering, but it will provide more fill. Let's try the silver side. Wait, there it is.
Yeah, there you go. Got to bend it back a little.
So as you can see, you have to bend and tilt your reflector until it's properly lighting your subject, which can be difficult.
Because the silver is so reflective, any little variation in the position of the reflector can cause drastic changes on your subject's face. That means picture to picture could be very different depending on who's holding it. It's a really tough job to be holding the reflector.
It's uncomfortable too. Let's also try the gold side. Here, Tony, we'll switch. The gold side adds some warmth to your photo. It's similar to the light quality of the silver side, but I don't think that the warmth that it provides is that natural, so I don't usually use it, but I'll show you anyway. That looks pretty nice, actually. You look like you're in the sunset.
It's blinding me.
How do you feel about it?
Blind?
Smile so I can see if it makes your teeth golden. Your teeth have a tan.
In some cases, you can actually have your model hold the reflector to bounce light up from beneath. And sometimes they'll just throw a little curve in there. And again, if they can see the reflection of the light, then it's working properly. That's with and that's without. The closer you can get the reflector to the subject without getting it in the frame, the more light you'll capture. But what if you don't have an assistant? You can get an inexpensive stand, but maybe they don't work so great.
Got a sandbag there.
Yeah, otherwise the wind will catch it. It becomes a big sail. Still might have problems with the wind. Especially if you need to get above your subject. It gets nice and tall, but it can be real flimsy and kind of flaky. And this is the challenge with these stands. As you can see, the wind is catching it and pushing it towards me. So they work better indoors than outdoors. Outdoors, you pretty much need an assistant to help you out.
There are other benefits to having a person over a stand too.
Like what?
Well, it's easy to give a person direction and just have them move it rather than having the stand do it.
Could you move that down a little lower? Lower. You're right, this doesn't work. Hope you found this useful and you decide to integrate reflectors and diffusers in your shooting. That $20 investment will give you a lot more than buying a $5,000 camera kit, I promise.
For more free videos, subscribe to our channel. And if you'd like a copy of SDP, go to sdp.io/store or Amazon.
Enjoy.
Can you do that last one once again? I was still kind of like laughing. And
Oh, yeah.
How do we have so many helicopters around here?
I-
What is with that?
I know, you never notice until you film just how much.
Oh, nice. It's a freaking sky crane.
Of course it is.
You could have that carry your reflector.